Pecha Kucha 186, Shout Bubbles, and Giant Dad. I'm realizing I'm spending a lot of my time talking about, what I do every week, which is smiley shows right now. Being stuck in the house, I'm not reading books like I usually do on public transport. I'm not even reading comics because the library is closed, so I can't actually pick any new ones up. So whatever, that's just something I'm aware of. So I'm doing my continuous rotation of each page of the first third of this smiley show back on page 1. I think I've redrawn Bison for the second or third time. I'm sort of fixing all the speech bubbles in the bottom and considering how to do the background for the bottom panel for the actual smiley show set. This week I also decided to mirror the images to just double check the art was of a suitably acceptable quality. The Vegeta picture needed a little bit of tweaking once I flipped it. I'm not looking to go crazy, but it does help you note some very obvious things when you look at images, and then you flip them horizontally, which is an exceptionally easy thing to do digitally. Usually it's a one-click thing. Traditionally, you would just look at the image in a mirror. It's very good for checking symmetry on faces and stuff. This is one of those OG tips. If you want to be drawing things accurately, flip the image and see if it still holds up. So on 2 weeks in a row on my Tuesday, I've been drawing a lot of M. Bison, which is a reference to the meme. I'm glad I got my little Heihachi montage in there, my first montage of many. I've also been uploading some of my old Inktober stuff I did on paper to my Tumblr. I'm trying to be more consistent, just uploading stuff to some sort of social media platform without it being additional work. So there's a lot of uploading old stuff, and that's probably going to continue for quite a while because there is a lot of old stuff still to go up. My most recent smiley show, the Akuma one, is queued in my Tumblr. I guess I'm going to have to start leaving links in the descriptions to these things. Because ultimately the major plan going forward is for the smiley show to be ready to read anywhere and everywhere, and for there to be a lot to read. So on my Thursday I was coming close to getting through my first 5-page super section. Some awkward shots, angles of Bison, which I think are starting to come together. I'm drawing him quite a lot. I was also doing a lot of shout speech bubbles. I decided to temporarily kind of by hand draw 2 red circles and then use the vector line tool to do jagged lines using that as a guide. There's a lot of ways to do shouting bubbles, but it's a work in progress. I was also listening to Only Plays the Rugrats Search for Reptar on the Thursday, which probably did more harm than good. It was a lot of fun. It was extremely entertaining, but I can't help but feel that the art quality suffered exponentially over that maybe hour and a half. And I did also, at the end of the week, do my final line work for the memes that I'm incorporating into my joke about memes, when Bison is talking about the smiley show finally being on the internet. And this is effectively what I thought of when I thought of the internet. All the silly stuff that comes to mind without actually having to think of it. Five Nights at Freddy's and Freddy Fazbear as the titular character actually wasn't an original idea, an initial idea. I was going to put Grumpy Cat in, but then I'm like, I don't give a fuck about Grumpy Cat. What's the kind of stuff I've ended up seeing on YouTube? And Markiplier introduced me to Five Nights at Freddy's, so that's legit. My Little Pony is, I don't want to say it's the first meme, chicken or the egg, but I feel like if you're going to talk about the internet, you've got to give a passing reference to this stuff. It's eponymous, so there you go. Sonic, which I've mentioned before, love me some Sonic memes. The Sonic the Hedgehog fan base it's a clusterfuck of why are you even here? So yeah, I find it highly entertaining. It goes from offensive to harmless, much like the video games themselves. Tim and Eric reference from the one skit where there are mind explosions coming out of is it Tim or is it Eric? It's Eric. Eric's head. It's super great stuff. You either know or you don't, and if you don't know, I'm sorry for you. You should. This is the best. And then Giant Dad from Dark Souls, MLG meme. Get your Doritos, get your cheese, your Mountain Dew, and prepare to get wrecked if you're silly enough to play Dark Souls PvP online with a community that was toxic before toxic was a word. I was also drawing this like meme image of the Predator doing the Drake pose, do not want. Because I was watching random clips of Predator movies on YouTube that sucked. It turns out I really only like Predator, the first film. The rest of them, not a big fan. They're not all as bad as each other, but do not want. Something that was brought to my attention this week was a Vice documentary on the Brawl for All, which relates to American wrestling in the 2000s, where some professional wrestlers had a real competition where they basically punched each other in the head on TV because they thought they could just pretend they were the UFC for 20 minutes a night. It was a disaster. The guy who won probably paid one of the larger costs. The documentary was kind of a behind-the-scenes talk, an overall narrative of why they did it, what happened, and all the victims and injuries and careers it ended. The winner, Bart Gunn, ultimately went to WrestleMania to get knocked the fuck out by Butterbean, the notorious prize boxer who almost, quite frankly, killed Johnny Knoxville in the Jackass movie. And that is the sad clown of the week this week. Everyone involved with Brawl for All, from the fans to the production team, especially the people involved, multiple careers were ended or shortened. Nobody had anything good to say about this. It's been touted as the worst idea in American wrestling, and I think that's fair. But that brings us to the end of Pecha Kucha 186, and I'll see you next time.